Well, welcome one and all to the Bike Racing Without Mercy training vlog. Today is day number 2 of the build up to my FTP test. And Ed Laverack, coach Ed Laverack, he of the gargantuan FTP but minute waistline, has got something very special on the agenda. It's 2 blocks of 10 minutes at FTP, 285 to 295 watts. But every 2.5 minutes, there's a neuromuscular surge at 530 watts. Here we go. FTP now. 2.5 minutes of this, then the first of the neuromuscular surges. Earlier on this morning, I did a strength training, focus on building power, upper body, back and chest. Let's go and check that out now. Well, due to the operation, it's been 7 weeks since we've last been in the emergency stairwell, but it has to be confronted. I refer, of course, to the rotating pull-up to work the lats, the biceps, the core, and a little bit of shoulders. And let's see if I can avoid the lateral rotation. Well, that was set number 2, 7 reps there, 8 reps on the first, and that compares to anywhere from 10 to 14 reps pre-op. So quite a lot of work to do to build back up the upper body strength. And you'll notice that I'm getting in all the strength work early on in the week, yesterday on the Tuesday and today on the Wednesday, and that's because ahead of the FTP test I want to avoid any risk of delayed onset muscle soreness, especially in the legs. Anyway, going to pair these with a deep press up high raised off the ground to increase the range of motion. Because as I always say, if you work the back of the torso, you should work the front in order to avoid imbalance. Well, as for the rotating pull-up, I'm going to have a little pause for a count of 1 at the bottom of this movement in order to engage the muscles that I want to work, i.e. the mind-muscle connection here, obviously the pectoral muscles and the triceps. It also forces me to focus on a nice, explosive or powerful movement upwards. Just coming up to the first of the 8-second neuromuscular surges. They're going to be up and out the saddle. Feeling good so far. Obviously it's very early days and 2 blocks of 10 minutes. Yeah, felt good. I report back towards the end of the block. Coming up for the 4th and final neuromuscular sprint in the first block of 10 minutes. So far, very challenging, but feels good actually. Good for the confidence. I reckon that's why Ed scheduled it ahead of an FTP test. Open up the legs, the lungs and the heart. then we go again. I'll report back towards the end of the second block of 10 minutes. Coming up for the third neuromuscular sprint in block 2. Establish FTP here. Find that nice cadence, Goldilocks. As ever, the neuromuscular surges make the FTP feel that wincy bit easier. Not easy, easier. Fires up the nervous system. Obviously. Looking for a strong finish. Felt good, very challenging, but just about right in terms of the intensity. Tomorrow, it's going to either be a full rest day or nice and easy, just as was Monday, full rest day. Well, as ever on these threshold efforts, I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and fingers crossed it bodes well for the FTP test. It was a good little confidence booster, and I reckon I was either at or above the power range for hours. So let's have a quick look at the training peaks data here. Starting with the first block of 10 minutes, we can see that the first 2.5 minutes at FTP was indeed at 291 watts. And then the first neuromuscular surge in the power range, 580, actually above the power range. And then 299, so slightly above. 572 above, 305 above, 557 around the power range, and 303 slightly above, and then a final surge at 566. So definitely quality in that first block of 10. Then I actually went for zone 2 for the recovery. I quite enjoyed doing that. Builds a little bit of the old mental fortitude. And then we hit the second block of 10 minutes, starting with 294, right in the pickle barrel there. Neuromuscular surge slightly below 532, but in the range. And then we hit 303 for the second 2.5 minutes, 547, nicely in the pickle barrel for the second neuromuscular surge, 300 watts, slightly above for the third FTP, 532, tiny bit below for the third neuromuscular surge, and then finishing with a flourish, 312 for the final of the 2.5 minutes, and 587. Yeah, so quality throughout. And looking at the power, let's see what the maximum 10-minute power was. Yeah, 317 on the second block. Yeah, that's very decent 10-minute power for me. Now on for the post-ride nutrition. And as with most training sessions, especially where the intensity is high, as it was for the strength, but also the cycling, the muscle gets broken down, glycogen stores get depleted. So immediately after the training, it's a really good anabolic window where the body is super receptive to taking on the macronutrients to repair muscle damage, i.e. the protein, but also carbohydrates, fast digesting carbohydrates, in order to replenish glycogen stores. So making the most of that. Got the protein shake here. Always very nice with the hippie milk. And then I should be having one of these ice spice buns and maybe a slice or two of the giant hot cross bun with a little bit of the honey. A little later on I have the vitamin C just to calm the body down, reduce cortisol levels, and of course the ultimate greens, which, as I've said, I've moved later on in the day because for 2 or 3 hours post-training, the body isn't quite as receptive to taking on the kind of the iron that's contained within the greens, and the iron is obviously integral to good blood health. And for those of you asking, well, won't all the carbohydrates make you fat? Well, certainly not in my experience. I mean, cycling requires carbohydrates in order to fuel performance. But whether it's strength training or aerobic training, in my experience, immediately afterwards, because the body is depleted, there's a much better chance of those fast digesting, slightly more sugary carbohydrates getting converted into glycogen for the brain, the liver and the muscles, i.e. much less chance of them getting turned into body fat if you eat within an hour or so after the training. From a slow cooker to the plate of fast consumption, but quality carbs, loads of fibre, vitamins, minerals, and then quality starchy carbohydrates as well.